can start.
Okay, so my name is Juan Garcia. This is Eric Garcia, Sergio, and Brandon. We're the Alpha team. Um, right now, we're currently working on producing a mechanism that'll make for the Island Green team that for the purpose of cutting back their time consumption in the production of their compost system. They've expressed their concerns about it taking a long time and a lot of man hours to be able to produce the compost that they use for their gardening. So our mechanism is designed to cut back on some of those man hours but make them more efficient. Basically what we've done is we created a barrel type system that'll make the transition from one stage to another a lot easier, a lot smoother by making the automatic sifting of it. In case y'all don't know what that is, that's the filtering of the compost to separate the bigger molecules from the small ones. And so the main goal behind this is, again, like I said, is to make it easier and more effective for them. We're trying to cut back the amount of man hours it takes to produce this compost system. So the main goal behind that is, again, efficiency, cutting back man hours and making it easier on them. Also cutting back some of that backbreaking labor. Second of all, our second goal is to make this design last past the time we're here in school. We got to take into consideration that they are not engineers and probably haven't messed with any type of complicated system before. And so if things were to go bad, they wouldn't know how to fix it. So we got to make it a straightforward design that would just be easy to maintain. And that being said, we're working on giving them a kind of like a booklet in case something does break. It'll have instructions on how to be able to replace it. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible to be able to maintain and replace someone that probably doesn't know anything about the system.
Now we're talking about the design. So last semester we were able to do a prototype for them, and that prototype was just mainly to give them an idea of what we want to make and how it's going to look. And so we did this small scale version of it, and they were able to use it throughout the summer and test it out to see if they like it. And they ended up liking it, and they showed it to a couple of incoming freshmen that came in and showed them what the engineers are trying to do for them and how we're trying to help them out. And with their feedback, we were able to, I guess, accommodate the size of what they want, and they give us the dimensions. So, go for this. And so we built this drawing based on the dimensions that they gave us. And so we wanted approximately 35 inches by 4.5 and in length, and then the height is about 4 3/4. And the main thing we want on this is to be large enough to sift fairly large quantities, and as well to be lightweight and agile to move from different spots of their garden. And so the way it works is just mainly the dirt or the soil is going to be inserted through one side, while it's going to be sifted through the middle. All that rich soil they're going to use for their garden, to grow plants or whatever they needed to. And then all the rocks and pieces of wood are going to drop to the other side. And we wanted to what's called slumping, which is just a small, low velocity rotational. So we don't want it to be moving fast. We just want it to be at a steady, slow moving velocity, right? And the way we're going to do that is by adding a motor to it. The motor we have is a 3/4 phase, 3/4 horsepower. And we want to implement a pulley system to it and approximately have it at 8 to 15 RPMs, about so. And we wanted to have some safety mechanism to it. So we want to add sort of like a dirt feeder to it so they won't have to have their hands inside the actual cylinder while it's rotating. They don't have to get anything caught in there, such as their clothes, any hair, anything like that. And definitely have it slow moving so no injuries or anything like that could be involved. And also definitely want to have a lifting mechanism so we have all the dirt moving to one direction instead of having everything move in any random direction. We just want it to go in one steady direction.
Okay guys, I'm going to talk about the cost.
So far, the cost is divided into two. We got $250 from the Islander Green Team, and we have $300 on the budget from the engineering department. We use so far a total of $390. We still have maybe 20% of the project to be done, which includes, buying some material there. Like the guard belt and some shield for the motor and some stabilizer for the motor. I'm not gonna bore everybody here with all the little details. Here's all the list. Mainly screws, wood, treated wood. We did use something to talk about it. Hurricane straps. It was one big thing we found out in the prototype that Eric was talking about. Very important to include in on this new design. Next slide. So now I'm going to talk about the whole product and how are we building it. We have two different phases, which is the structure, the main structure, and the sifter. We started building the structure, technically a box. Obviously, we used some features to have in mind, which is some black bolts for security purposes. So, it's not going to come apart. We did use around 16 of those black bolts. We use hurricane strips. That is like, those hurricane strips are used in building houses. So they're good. This product is gonna last for a long time. We're using treated wood because we're right next to the ocean, which promotes corrosion and wood goes wrong around the ocean. So we have treated wood, which is a pretty important aspect of this structure. Now jumping into the sifter, because we started on this one, we got like 80% done, and then we needed to jump into the sifter system. It is basically a cylinder surrounded by one and a quarter mesh, which is the whole sifting system, right? We are having like 3 metal rings, which is gonna have like the whole structure in place, and we are gonna have the exact word is called baffles. It's basically like an L shape, aluminum L shape going like across the cylinder. That is gonna bring like stability, structural strength, and also it's gonna help all the dirt just move like the way we wanted it, right? We're still missing the funnel, as Eric said, in one of the sides of the structure. Just so like a safety feature, people's dropping soil on it and nothing's gonna get caught. And we just need to put the motor on the belt, and that'll be it.
Alright guys, so for the testing part, a couple weeks ago, 3 of us went out there, we did some labor work. We got 2 shovels in a 5-gallon bucket. As you can see, there's 4 different bins here. And these are 4 different cycles. The first one over there is like raw compost, like all your organic materials, just sitting there letting it rot out. And as time passes by, we sift them all out using this sifter. We dump that bucket into here. It's like a tray given by on the green team. We sift it by hand. The soil goes down to the bottom, and the mulch gets carried over. If you go to the next slide real quick. So the soil goes on here into the next bin, which is used for the plant's vegetation, and this mulch goes back into the very first original bin, which is going to get sifted all over again, and so it's down into real small compost system pieces. Next one. So as far as the testing, when we came back to data and stuff, we tested 100 gallons that Friday. Took 45 minutes to do between the 3 of us, which is a total of 2.25 total man hours each person. Out of the 100 gallons, 84 gallons was the actual soil that's able to be used for the vegetation, and the 16 gallons of the chips were back into the original. So for the next step, we have to finish building our project, and we need to figure out exactly what we're going to do about how we're going to put the guard for the pulley. The next thing, we're going to also deliver Islander Green Team like a instruction manual of how everything was built, and in case if anything does happen to break down, they can fix it on their own without having any engineer or any of us here.
That's about it.
Thank you guys.